Hello everyone, in this video I'll show you how to create a whack-a-mole game using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is a very simple game. We have a hammer that follows our mouse, so you can use your mouse to control this hammer, and all you have to do is take your hammer above the mole and click on it to smash the mole. So let me show you, like so. And as you smash the mole, your score will increase and the mole will come from random holes, so you have to be quick. So like so. Yeah, so this is the game. This is a fun and simple game, so let's get started. So I have an empty folder to begin with. Here I'm going to create an index.html, a style.css, and finally a main.js. So now in our HTML, let's start by creating a basic markup. So here let's link our style sheet. So we're going to use the link tag, and the href will be style.css, like so. And let's do the same for our JavaScript. So we're going to say script source equals to main.js, source equals to main.js, like so. Save it. And now if you have the live server extension installed, you can right click and click on open with live server. And here is our empty page. For now, let's just say hello, and here is our hello. So let's go to our style sheet. First let's target everything. We're going to say margin 0 and padding to also 0, so padding 0 also. So now we have removed the white space, and now let's target our HTML and our body. Let's just say both of them will have a height of 100%, like so. And now let's target our body separately, and the body can have a font dash family, so font family of whatever font you want. Let's say Arial, and this will have a green background, so we can say background dash color, so background dash color. And we can copy the color from our finished project. So let me just right click on inspect, and our body have this background color. So let me just copy this, Control C and Control V, and now our body have this background color. Let's also say the color will be white, so color equals to hashtag FFF, and now our text is in white. Okay, now here we're going to have a h1 with the class of score. Here we're going to say score colon, and then we're going to have a span tag, so span. Inside the span, we're going to show the actual score. By default, it will be 0. And after that, we're going to have a div with the class of board, which will store all the holes. So you can imagine this much space here is a board. So let's just have a div with the class of board. Let's say hello, and here are them. So let's style them. So let's say our body will have a display of flex. So we can say display flex. If we do this, now they're side by side, but we don't want them side by side. So we're also going to say flex direction. So flex dash direction. Flex direction will be column. So now again they are on top of each other. After that, we are going to say justify content to center and align item to center. Save, and now both of them are in center. Now let's target our h1 with the class of score, so dot score, and let's say it will have a font size, so font size of 4em, so large. Okay, it should be em, 4em. Okay, now let's target our board, so dot board. Let's say our board will have a height, so height of 600 pixel and a width of 600 pixel as well, just so that we can see it. Let's say border equals to 1 pixel solid red, and so this much area is our board. Now let's say our score will have some margin on the bottom, so margin bottom of let's say 0.5 em, so we have a little bit of margin. Okay, now inside this we are going to have these holes from which our mole will appear. So we are going to create a div for each of the hole. So let's create a div with a class of hole, and we have to create 8 more of them. So let me just say all shift down, so 3 more, and we can copy this 3 more times, so 1 2 3. So now we have 9 divs. We can't see them, that is because we don't have any content. Okay, so here you can see we have a 3 by 3 grid. So let's say our board will have a display of grid, so we're going to say display, and this time the display will be grid, not flex, so display of grid. And we're going to say grid template columns. We're going to repeat 3 times because we want a 3 by 3 grid and 1 FR, so each of them should have same amount of width. We're going to do the same for our rows, so grid template rows equals to repeat 3 1 FR. Save it. We still can see them, so let's target our hole. Oops, it should be hole, not home, so hole. For now, let's just say background color, so background color of red. It looks like we only have 1 square, but actually we have 9 of them. So let's add some space between each of our holes, so we're going to say gap, and let's try 80 pixel. Okay, now let's remove the border, we don't need it. And a background color, we can again copy it from our finished project. So let me just click on inspect. So here is our background color for whole. So Control C, and we can say background color. So background color equals to the color we just copied. Save. Actually the color should be in the whole, not board. Sorry. Control X, Control V, save. Now we want them to be circular shaped. So let's say border radius of 50%. So 50%, save. Okay, one thing I just realized is here we have 12 divs instead of 9. So as you can see, we have total 12 divs. So let me just remove 3, and now they're proper circles. So that was causing the bug, I guess. So okay, now what we want to do is make these holes look like this. So we're going to use box shadow to do that. So let's just say box shadow. So box dash shadow, and since we want our box shadow to be inside our hole, we're going to say inset to make the shadow be inside. Let's say the offset X will be 0, the offset Y can be, let's say, 10 pixel, and the blur will be 0 pixel, but the spread will be 7 pixel. And for the background color, we can say something like RGB. So RGB, it will be 53, 21 and 6. Save it. Let me go to that project, and as you can see, this is how this look like, but still not quite the same. Okay, we can also add multi-layer shadow. So we can add a comma and then add another layer of shadow. So here we can again try to get this inner shadow. So as you can see, we have a little bit of inner shadow also, which also have a blur. So we are going to say inset, and this time it will be 0 pixels from the x-axis again, 20 pixels from the y-axis, 20 pixel for the blur, 15 pixel spread. So 15 pixel for the spread, and the color will be RGBA. So RGBA, we are going to say 0, 0, 0. And for the opacity, we are going to say 0.3. And finally we can add an outer shadow also. So again comma and another layer of shadow. So we can say this time it won't be inset because we want the shadow to be outside. We can say 0, 0 and 5 pixels. So the shadow will be everywhere. And again RGBA 0, 0, 0. For the opacity this time, let's say 0.5. And as you can see, now it is looking very similar to what we had in our finished project. Okay, now we want to create this cursor, this hammer. So let me go to the index.html. So here we are going to have a div with the class of cursor. So dot cursor, and let me just copy this, Control C, go to our CSS, have our cursor. Let's say the height of our cursor will be 110 pixel, the width will be 100 pixels. So width will be 100 pixel, and the position will be absolute. So position absolute. For now, let's just say top to something like 100 pixels. So 100 pixel, left to 100 pixel also. And just so that we can see it, let's give it a background color, save. And as you can see, here is our cursor div. So instead of this, we want to use the image. Okay, so I'm going to copy the images from our finished project. So let me go to our finished project, and here is the assets folder. Let me just simply copy this. And as you can see, we have this assets folder. So I'm going to leave the link to the finished project in the video description, so you'll be able to get all these images from there. So as you can see, we have this hammer icon, mole image, we have this mole whacked image. So when we smash the mole, this image will be shown. And we also have a sound effect, smash sound. The link to the finished project is in the video description. Scroll down to get it, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already on the way. Okay, so now here, instead of background color, we're going to say background dash image. So background image will be URL, it will be assets / hammer .png, save. So here is our hammer, but this is not looking right, so we're also going to say background size. So background dash size, background size will be 100%. And here is our hammer image, but as you can see, this does not follow our cursor. We want this to follow our cursor. So let's see how we can do that. So in our JavaScripts, first we are going to say const cursor equals to document.querySelector cursor, like so. And then we are going to say window.addEventListener. So window.addEventListener, we are going to listen for the mouse move event. When we move our mouse, this function will be executed. So here we are simply going to say cursor.style top equals to e.pagey. E.pagey will give us the position of y-axis of our mouse, and we can do the same for our x. So we're going to say cursor.style.left equals to e.pagex plus pixel, save. And now as you can see, the hammer is following our mouse. So we can also say our cursor will have some transform. So we can say transform equals to translate. So translate, let's just say -20% and -20%. So now our hammer is, actually this should be negative. So our hammer is always below the cursor. Now in our finished project, as you can see, if we click on this, the hammer rotates. So let's do that. So we're going to say our hammer will also have a transition. So transition, the transition will be transform, and the duration can be, let's say, 0.1 second. And here we're going to say dot cursor dot active. So when our cursor has a class of active, let me just copy this transform, Control C, Control V. Along with this will also have a rotate. So we're going to say rotate of 45 degree. Let's see how that looks. And here we are going to add more event listener. So we're going to say window dot add event listener. This time we're going to listen for the mouse down event. So mouse down. So the mouse down event is fire when you press and hold down the left mouse button. So when we do that, we're going to say we're going to run this function. So inside that, all we have to do is say cursor.classlist.add when to add a class of active. Save it, and now let's go to our current project and try to click. Okay, it looks like this is not working. Let's see why is that. Click on inspect. Let's open up our console. So show console drawer, and it looks like we don't have any error. Let's see then why it is not working. So we said when our cursor have a class of active. Okay, this should be degree, not person, sorry. So DEG for degree. And let's try to click. Okay, this rotates on this direction. Let's try to say -45, save. And now if we click, and it rotates properly, but even if we release our button from the mouse, this stays the same. We don't want that. So let's add another event listener. So let me just copy this, Alt Shift down to copy, and this time we're going to say mouse up. So when we release the button, in that case we are simply going to remove the class. So remove. And now if we click and hold down, the hammer is rotated, and if we release our mouse, the hammer goes back to the normal position. Okay, so now what we want to do is randomly show this mole. So in our HTML, for now let's just hardcode one. So here we're going to have an image tag with a class of mole. So for the source, we're going to say assets/mole.png, save. And here is our mole image, but this is very big, so let's try to scale it down. So let's go to our CSS, and here let's target our mole. So dot hole, and inside that we have an image with the class of mole. Let me close the sidebar. It should be mole. Okay, let's say our mole will have a width of 70%. So 70%, oops, 70%. So 70% of the width of this whole div. So now we are also going to say our hole will have a position of relative. So position of relative, so that our mole can have a position of absolute. So we're going to say position absolute, and we can say left. So left equals to 50%. And then transform equals to translate x. So translate x to -50%, save. And now the mole is centered horizontally. Now we are also going to say bottom. It will be 0 pixel from the bottom, like so. And now we can say our hole will have a overflow. So overflow of hidden. So this is how this mole look like. Now it looks like the mole is inside the hole. Okay, the mole will also have an animation. So we're going to say animation. The name of the animation can be, let's say, rise. So it will rise from the bottom. Let's say the duration will be 0.3 second, and the easing function can be ease in out, or let's just say ease out. And now let's create the animation. So we're going to say add keyframes. We called it rise at 0%. So at 0%, we're going to say transform equals to, let me just copy this. So Control C, and we can paste it, Control V. So along with the translate x, we're going to also have a translate y. So at 0%, the translate y will be -100%. Let me just copy this and say at 100% it will be 0. So translate y will be 0. It should be rise, not raise, save. And it looks like the mole is coming from top, not bottom. So let's say 100%, save. And now it looks like the mole is coming from the bottom side. So the mole is coming from the whole deep inside. So this should be good enough. We don't want to have image inside this div. So let me just save it. And we want to target all the holes. So all these divs in our JavaScript. So here we're going to say const holes equals to, we're going to say document.querySelectorAll hole. And now if we were to say console.log, so console.log holes, click on inspect. As you can see, we have a node list of 9 elements. We want to convert this node list into an array. What we can do is wrap them inside square bracket like so, and use 3 dots for spread operation. And if we were to save it, as you can see, now we have an array of 9 divs. Okay, great. Now we want to create a function called run, which will run the game. So function run. Now we know that the mole should come from a random hole. So first we are going to say const I equals to a random number between 0 to 9. So we are going to say math.floor math.random and holes.length will be 9. So this is more flexible. So if we were to console log this, so console.log our I, and of course we have to run this function. So run. If you were to save it, as you can see we get 8. If we refresh, we keep getting random number between 0 and 8. So great. Now we can say const hole equals to holes I, like so. Then we had the image here, but now we want to create the image manually. So we are going to say const img. So const img equals to document.create element image. We are going to add a class list. So we are going to say image.classList.add, and our image will have a class of mole. And then we're also going to say image.source equals to, it will be assets / mole.png, and we have to add this image to our hole. So we can say hole.append child image. So save it. So as you can see, now we have this mole here. If we refresh, now we have mole here. Refresh again. So yeah, the mole is coming from a random hole. But one thing you'll notice is if we take our hammer all the way at the right side, we get these scroll bars. We don't want that. So here we can go to our body and we can say overflow to hidden. So overflow hidden, like so. And by the way, if you want to hide this cursor icon, you can also say cursor. So cursor to none. If we do this, as you can see, we don't have our cursor anymore, but I want to keep the cursor. So let me just remove that line. So here is our cursor. And we know that we can click on the mole, and when we click on this mole image, we can just assume that we have smashed it. So we can simply add an event listener to our image. So we can say img.add event listener. So add event listener, we're going to listen for the click event. So we're going to say click. When it is clicked, we're going to run this function. So for now, let's just say alert. So alert, we can alert 0. You'll notice that even if we click on this, nothing happens. That is because we are not clicking on this mole image. Instead, we are clicking on this hammer image. So what we have to do is go to our CSS, go to our cursor. Where is that? Here is our cursor. So here we're going to say pointer events. So the pointer events on our hammer or the cursor icon will be nothing. So none, save. And now if we click on the image, it says alert 0. So now we can click on the mole. If we click on this, we want to increase our score. So let's also have a score variable. So we're going to say let score, by default it will be 0. And we also want to target the span here. So we're going to say const score el for score element equals to document.querySelector score. The score is our h1. As you can see, this is h1 is our score, and the span is what shows the score. So when to target the span inside the score, not just the score. So here we're going to say score plus plus and score element dot text content equals to score. Save it. Okay, actually instead of plus plus, we're going to say plus equals to 10. So each time we smash a mole, our score will be increased by 10. Click on save, and if we try to smash it, as you can see, our score was increased by 10. Okay, if the user can't smash it in a certain period, we want to remove it from here and show it in another hole. So what we can do is use a set timeout. For that, here we are going to say let timer. By default it will be null, and then we're going to say timer equals to set timeout, and let's say we want this to run after 1500 millisecond or 1.5 second. After 1.5 second, we are going to remove the image from our hole and then call the run function again. If we were to save this, as you can see, the mole keeps coming from random holes, so this is working. But now if we were to successfully click on this image before the image is removed, what we are going to do is say image.source. So img.src source equals to, let me just copy this. Let me just open up my sidebar. As you can see, we have this mole dash whacked, so we want to use that image now. So mole dash whacked, click on save, and let me try to smash it. As you can see, we get the smash image. So some more things we have to do is say clear timeout. So clear timeout, we want to say timer, and we want to add a new timer. So let me just copy this. So Control C and paste it. For this one, we don't need 1.5 seconds. We can simply say 500 millisecond, and that should be good enough. Click on refresh and click on this. As you can see, this is working. So now we just need our sound effect. So here we can say const sound equals to new audio, and here we have to pass the path to our audio files. So this will be assets / sound / smash.mp3. So smash.mp3, and here we can simply play our sound. So we can say sound.play, save, click on refresh, Now we have successfully created a whack-a-mole game from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. But right now you can play this game indefinitely, so there is no losing. So what you can do is, instead of showing mole every time, you can sometimes show a bomb image or something else, and when user smashes the bomb accidentally, the user dies. Other than that, we have successfully completed this project, so I hope you have enjoyed this and learned something new. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this, and I will see you next time.